Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, welcome. It is time to put our rotisserie to good use and do our final frame repair on this bus. We will be using this rear cross member to replace the one that got all crunched up. And of course, through here is where our coolant lines are going to run for the radiator. I know a bunch of you purists have just clicked off this video, but there is a Subaru engine going in this bus, and this is a big part of where the coolant lines will be running through. So once that is installed, we can move on to getting all of that set up. But without further ado, let's get right into the work. Of course, it is with great sadness that I must remove this windshield, but now that we know everything fits, it's gonna be okay. Make sure to check out that windshield episode on the channel. Fresh blade. Brand new seal. Let's cut her out. Oh God, this hurts my soul. It is a brand new seal. I just want to cry. I installed this windshield in order to test my opening to make sure everything fit correctly, due to the fact that I did swap on a roof from another bus. I've said this many times, and it's a brand new nose. So before I did the final paint job, I wanted to make sure the windshield was going to fit, and it did, thankfully. Of course, you don't want to rotate the bus on a rotisserie with the windshield in place because that's just extra weight. This is not the easiest thing to do alone. Oh, whoa, and that is why, but I mean, we're good. We're gonna also go ahead and remove the sliding door and the passenger door, of course, to reduce weight. I've removed this door plenty of times, so it only gets easier. Maybe not. Oh God, when I replaced this windowsill here, the new one doesn't come with the bump out for removing the sliding door, so that was a mistake. Oh, okay, that's the ticket. Easy peasy, get a little workout in. Damn, I'm good. With the two doors removed, we are now in prime position to rotate it. Another thing which I'm gonna have to do alone that's not so fun, but builds character. And now we rotate. It should take 3 rotations to get it completely on its side. I hope it doesn't hit my garage door. Okay, then we'll slide it. All right, next one's a little bit more difficult. Okay, we're gonna lift. There she goes. There she goes. God, I can't see over there. We're gonna slide it back towards us once more so it doesn't roll into the garage door. And then hopefully I'm strong enough to push it all the way onto its side. Okay. There she goes. That wasn't so bad. That's wonderful. Put those there just in case. That should work. A little out of breath, excuse me. Just exerted a lot of force. This is the first time I've actually seen the bus from the bottom since I've done a ton of this metal work, and it's looking awesome. It's just, I'm so pleased with it. It's hard to explain how exciting it is to see a rust-free bottom like this. But let's move on to talking about the problem area. And as you can see, this cross member has seen better days. Don't know how they managed to do this, as there's not much damage anywhere else. The front cross member's fine. But this one, they must have, I don't know, gone off-roading, hit a bump. We're gonna cut it out, leave as much of the original as possible, just due to the fact that I don't want to work harder than I have to. I'm thinking I'm gonna leave this portion of it, and then here it's pretty straight. So somewhere around here I'm gonna make my cuts. Don't know how I'm planning on getting this through it. Maybe I'll make a cut around here. I'm not sure, because I'm not pulling out the clutch cable or the clutch guide tube. And not to get ahead of ourselves, my buddy Jason gave me this racing radiator that he had lying around just to see how it would fit. And to be honest, I feel like I could fit something bigger in here, but you never know. So at this point in the video, there's no audio, unfortunately, due to the fact that Mallory and I are using the mics for our live stream. If you're interested in interacting with us live, we typically live stream on Saturdays around noon Eastern time. And yes, we are wearing Spider-Man outfits. That's because we bought them for a costume party that we never ended up going to, so we decided to at least put them to use. But anywho, I got to work in marking off the area that I planned on cutting out. I like to use blue tape. It just makes it easier to see exactly where you're going to cut, and then I use an arrow to point in the direction that I'm going to be cutting so that I don't cut on the wrong side of the tape. I've done that before. And then I went ahead and cut out the cross member in the easiest way possible. I did have to use a sawzall for a portion of it, which turned out to be a little bit more dangerous than I anticipated.
Alright, be careful with these tools, they're dangerous.
And then finally, it was down to removing the spot welds, which is never really easy, especially when they're hard to see. So I like to use a 40 grit flap disc and just grind down the welds, making sure not to eat into the metal that's behind it. And on the left side of it, I was actually able to see where the spot welds were, but unfortunately, I couldn't get my spot weld remover tool in there to actually remove them. I ended up grinding it down on the other side as well. With the spot welds all ground down, I was able to wiggle out that inner piece of crossmember. And then using a 120 grit flap disc, I went ahead and cleaned up the area, got any remaining metal off, and got things down nice and smooth. So the top hat is actually a little bit bent out here. So I've got to straighten it up a bit before I can go ahead and weld in the new piece. And then down here, you can see that it's pretty bent out of shape here. So I'm gonna straighten all of this out. Once it's looking good, I can cut the replacement piece and begin to fit it into place. As for the inside of the top hat, now that I have access to it, I'm gonna go ahead and clean it out in POR 15 the inside. Now you can see all my little spot welds when I did the floor replacement. It's pretty sweet to see that I got some pretty good penetration on these. So it looks like that cargo floor isn't going anywhere. Now, if you like what you've seen so far, don't forget to hit that like button down below and leave a comment. Leaving comments is one of the best ways you could help to support the channel, and it means a lot to me. I read them all and I respond to as many as I can. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. What? If you already haven't? If you already have? If you have not, subscribe. Yeah, just subscribe if you're not subscribed. I'd also like to take this moment to thank all of my Patreons. We have Chris Crawford, Leonard Iberline, Paul Gordon, Solon12, Ian Larson, Cesare, Jeffrey Carney, Steven Stallcup, and Jared Dale. Your support really does help make a difference, and it warms my heart in these cold seasons. If you'd like to become a Patreon yourself, the link will be down in the description, and you can join for as low as $1 a month and help support the channel. Thank you so much, and I hope you continue to enjoy this video. It's time for one of my least enjoyed parts, which is transferring the measurements onto the new piece. Of course, this is gonna have to go all the way down to here because I cut down a big section. That's also to include these lock nuts that are welded in that I feel are gonna help me for my radiator shroud. They're not called lock nuts. What are they called? Capture nut? Is that what it's called? I don't know if the capture nuts came in any of the bay window models on this crossmember piece, but since they're on this one, I figured I might as well weld in that whole bottom piece in there just to have that. So let's get to cutting. After quite a bit of fiddling with the fitment, this is what I've got, and it looks pretty good. Obviously, it's going to need to be clamped in quite a few spots as I weld it into place, and stock is what we're aiming for, so that looks good to me. We'll go ahead and get this removed, and now that the Ospho has done its thing on the inside of the top hat, we'll use some POR 15, and we'll give it a good coating on the inside, and then we'll be good to weld this on after we strip some of the paint off. This is certainly overkill, but I mean, I've got access to it, so why not? Never gonna rust from in here. In reality, I can't even get this stuff too close to the surfaces that are gonna be welded because heat just makes this stuff peel off, so. And now we let it dry. Tomorrow we weld. It is time to remove the paint from all the edges that are going to be welded onto the metal and to go ahead and punch the holes for our plug welds, and then we'll be ready to give it that final fitment and weld it into place. We have finally gotten it clamped into place, and this is where I can't stress the importance of having as many clamps as possible because it's one of the only ways to get pieces like this to fit. My plan to get everything to fit into place here is to make sure that I tack it on the top, bottom, and start working my way towards the middle, because whenever you're heating metal, it tends to kind of warp a little bit and bend. So if I heat it up too much on one side, it could start to turn. So I'm just gonna tack it all around and then get all my plug welds in and finish all the longer welds, and should be looking good. Oh, and we can't forget this piece. I know it's open. It's gonna be this piece right here. I didn't plan on cutting it off from here, but I kind of made a mistake, and you'll see how that fits in. But it's gonna work out just fine. It's gonna look beautiful. Let's weld. This piece right here is the final piece of the repair. Just got to make sure it fits correctly in here, and then we'll get it all welded in and grind down the welds. It should look, well, better than new, really. Looking good. And now I've got to grind everything down. The less fun part, but the easier part. And here we have the mostly finished product. There's still a few things I gotta touch up, but boy, does it look better than this. Or this, rather. Look at that. That looks great. And I think, you know, it's gonna do its job. And to be honest, this piece down here came out like 100 times better than I thought it would. It feels smooth, and it looks stock. If you made it to the end of the video, I'd like to thank you for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Peace.